Sunday also, in the name of life and death. And those who love it, help us to maintain our joy. To John Hopkins University.
Hey everyone, happy Sabbath to you, and I hope you're having a good Sabbath. And if you're seeing this on another day, I hope you have a great day today. Thank you for joining. Today, I'm going to teach on high places. You know, there's a song called High Places, and it talks on the song, it says that He'll bring the darkness to light before us. In every move we take, He'll lead us. It goes on, those are the lyrics. And then the chorus is, and the high places, God said He'll bring down. Amen. And so the text that I'm coming from, or that I'm using, the theme, is found in Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter, verse 19. And it reads, Yahweh Adonai is my strength, and He will make me to walk upon my high places. And then the rest of the sentence says, to the chief singer on my string instruments. This was put to a song, but God does promise to make us walk upon our high places. Amen. High places, according to the Bible, were places of idolatry, enchantments, and demonic sacrifices. These places of worship were elevated pieces of ground that were dedicated to idol worship. These shrines often included an altar and a sacred object such as a stone pillar, a wooden pole carved in various shapes to identify with the object of worship. This could be an animal, constellations, it could be a goddess, or a fertility deity. High places were set up in a spot that had been artificially elevated, which differentiated the high places from the hills. Worship at these localized idolic shrines often included making sacrifices, burning incenses, and holding feasts or festivals. Some of these high places were erected just to practice sacrificing, and especially child sacrificing for their god Moloch, who was famous for that. In the 20th century, we seem to think that idolatry as a sin of the past or something in the Eastern mysticisms. Idol worship is contained to those who look to wooden trinkets or golden calves or other images of gods for their needs. Idolatry is surprisingly modern and very prevalent in our culture. Part of the reason we don't think about idol worship today is because our definition of idol worship is off. We think of idolatry as being confined to bowing down to a golden star, or in an ancient temple, or praying to a wooden trinket. Since we do not do those things, we assume we don't have idol worship. And I've told this many times. When I was a child, and I'm in the 20th century. I was raised in the 20th century, so okay, I'm not that old, but when I was a child in grade school, I could remember in the month of May, we had a May fair or festival, that's what they called it. And everybody had to get dressed up. We put on our prettiest dresses and everything. And we had this pole that had been erected, and it had a lot of uh, uh, I want to say rags, but they weren't rags. They were beautiful colored uh, um, strings, but they weren't strings. They were about this wide, so they were like cotton cloth, and we would weave in and out. There'd be all these girls around the pole, and each one of them had one of those rags, or one of those cloths, I should say, and we would weave in and out of each other, and we would go around the pole weaving in and out, and that was called the maypole. Well, needless to say, now that I'm grown and have done some investigation, that was the Astura, which is a goddess of fertility, and that's what we were doing in the school system. We did not know it, had no idea. Nobody ever told us what we were doing. We just thought we were dancing. But that's how prevalent this stuff is. And a lot of stuff we do, we don't even know that we're doing, and who we're doing it for. We have no idea. So I want to talk about those high places. We still have high places, and it's very, very, very prevalent all over the world. Sorry to say that we do have modern day idols, lots of them. They may look different than the idols of the past, but we still practice idolatry today, unbeknownst to ourselves. In my research, I found 10 most common idolatry examples that are all around us. Before we can do this, we first need to get a better understanding of what an idol and high place are. We think of idolatry as an ancient way of worshiping God. We tend to miss the idol in our own lives. Idolatry isn't confined to worship, a golden statue, or praying to trinkets on a mount. It's much broader than that. Oh, sometimes when I think about some of the stuff that we used to do and think that, it was something fun to do, but it really wasn't. An idol or a high place is when something or someone becomes more important to us than God. By that definition, even good things can become idols or high places. When we make them the ultimate thing in our lives, anything or anyone can become an idol if we place the value for that thing or person above our value of Elohim. In ancient times, that would have looked like bowing down to worship a golden statue. Modern day idolatry looks different, but it's still common. Anything that becomes more important to us than Elohim is an idol. Have you ever said, oh, it's time to pray, but oh goodness, this is a good movie on TV and I just can't cut it off. I'll pray later. You just made that thing an idol. You just made that thing more important than Yahweh. And if we are honest, that list is long. When we place adoration and attention that should go to Elohim in other things, it's idolatry, or it's a high place. when it comes to idolatry, the danger is not in an item itself. It's not the item, it's in you. You know, you can say, oh, this TV, I'm going to get rid of it. But it will just find another item. You have to recognize that there's something going on in you that you have to get a better relationship with your God. Some of us seek after anything that gives you what only Elohim can give you. And I've seen that so much, you know. I think about drug addicts, you know, they don't particularly uh, uh, like being a drug addict or being called one or being some of the things that they do with when they get high. But what that addiction does is gives them a self, um, I can't think of the word, but it's like gratification. That's what it is, a self gratification to feel that they're okay. You know, I remember this one addict that I know, and she told me one day she was trying to deal with her baby, but the baby kept crying and whining and wanting mama's attention, and mama didn't feel like giving it to her. And she said, she looked at me, she said, I feel like I'm drowning. Now she wasn't in any water, she was sitting right there next to me, but she said, I feel like I'm drowning. And I understood that this drug, whatever she took, made her feel normal, even though she was far from normal when she took that drug. But that's only something that God can give us: a peace of mind, a satisfaction, a love for ourselves and Him. Only God can give that to us. So an idol and a high place is anything we consider more important than Elohim. So as you can see, idolatry is alive and kicking. Idol worship and high places have disguised themselves to look like things we encounter in today's world. My mama always used to say to me when we were talking about something, she would say, a rose called by another name is still a rose. Idolatry and high places might be called generational curses. It may be called child abuse, child molestation, and child prostitution, gambling, drug addiction, all kinds of addiction. How about human trafficking, social classes, all kinds of phobias, mental illness? These are high places, and sometimes idolatry, especially for the men and women that are running these businesses, as they call them. I call it slavery. We could say Satan has something for everybody. Satan is trying to affect everybody in this world, and I think he's done it. The only thing between you and Satan is Yahweh, and you're going to have to use him, use Yahweh to get free. Welcome to the 20th century. Those demons in the Bible are visiting earth strong and mighty. They're developing into new things. And our only defense is Yahweh. In Habakkuk 3:19, the verse that I use, it says, Yahweh Adonai is my strength, and he will make me to walk upon high places. Yeah, you can walk upon your high places. You take control once you dedicate yourself to Yah. And that's what it takes, your dedication. I don't feel like it. I want to sleep. I don't feel like it. I want to eat. I want to go to the park. I want to go to the movies. I want. That's when you are setting up high places. You're setting up idolatry. That's when you're doing that. When you are walking on the greatest thing you fear, it is no longer, or it has no longer power over you. Yahweh commanded Israel in Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter, verse 9. Now he knew that he was getting ready to take them into the land of milk and honey. I live on Easy Street. I love that. I live on Easy Street for real. But I think about that when Yah was getting ready to take Israel into the nation or the country of milk and honey. It sounds easy. And that's what it was. It was just like that. It was the plan that he was giving them. He commanded Israel in that Deuteronomy 18th chapter, verse 9. He commanded them, and he said, when you are come into the land which Yah gives you, you shall not learn to do after the abomination of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or to use divination, or one that practices sorcery, or an enchanter or witch. Most of us are uninformed. We think that is not here in America or any other place that is modern and in the 20th century, that it just doesn't exist. That's where we're not informed. Many that read this verse of scripture think we don't have enchanters or witches in today's society. But what about the mother that teaches their daughter or son that they have to steal to get what they want in life? Or a mother that teaches her daughter, you have to dress to seduce to get a man today in today's society. Oh yeah, they teach them. There's absolutely. I know of a couple that actually in my school that had their children going in stores to steal stuff. I know that. We saw this, I guess, a week or two, maybe it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago on TikTok. I saw this, and it was funny at first until I started thinking about it. And it was on TikTok, and it was a little girl in the daycare. And she was probably either 2 or 3 years old. And she was angry because she was put in the corner for bad behavior. And this little one could barely talk, say a whole sentence. She could barely say a whole sentence. You could tell her conversation was not that sophisticated. But she was trying to tell her teacher off. I mean, she was truly trying to just, tell her that she didn't like the teacher and she didn't like what they were doing to her. She was using all kind of threatening gestures, hand gestures and neck and head gesture to illustrate that she was going to do something to this teacher. Probably nothing, but she was trying to make her think, and that's what an enchantress does, or even a witch. They make you think that they can do something, that they're dangerous. They can make you think that. So she was using all kind of threatening gestures to her teacher, and that she could and would hurt her teacher if she got any more frustrated. Oh yeah, she was, and she couldn't really express what she wanted to say, I guess, because she didn't have the language, the command of the language. But The definition of a witch is a woman believed to have powers to cause harm or spells. And some women and men can make you, like I heard this woman one time talk about this man. She was scared to death of him. She'd never seen him, but she was scared to death of him. And I asked her, well, how is it that he scares you? Well, he calls me and he tells me I better not hang up the phone. And I'm thinking, what is he going to do? Well, he says he has a gun. Okay, but he's on the phone. If he's shot, the phone, it wouldn't reach you. But she was scared. He convinced her. He was using mind powers to, psych a person, and that's witchery. This little girl was comical. She really was, because she couldn't hardly pronounce what she was trying to say. But I watched her and understood she was mimicking somebody. And I thought, well, the teacher wasn't acting like that. The teacher was still calm. She was telling her, no, you're going to stay in the corner. No, this, that, and the other. But this little girl was shaking her head and, honey, yeah, you know what I'm going to do. That was the kind of, I guess it's atmosphere she was putting forth to this teacher. More than likely, and this is just my thoughts, but more than likely she was mimicking her mother. And it was Steve Harvey that was showing this thing, this little, clip. And he said himself, she looks like a drunk trying to explain something. And she did, but she didn't know words, So she was trying to say she was very upset. And she said, when she gets home, she's going to just enjoy her life free from this school. It was funny at first, but then I realized this baby was being sacrificed in the lap of Molech. Oh, yeah, parents themselves nowadays, which they were doing then, were sacrificing their own children. When you're teaching your child to curse and think that's a cool thing for them to do, or I know a parent that sat there and wanted her son at 8, 9, and 10 to watch porn. For what? I couldn't get it. What are you doing? What is this for? Oh, it helps him to mature. And I looked at her like, are you crazy? And he's a grown man now, but he went through years when he was a teenager of being addicted, sexually addicted. And that was what she did. She did it, mama. So yes, we can actually sacrifice our children like that. Yes. What we teach them, we better be trying to teach them what God said and nothing else. This is what is being taught to many children these days. I work in the school system. I can tell you, oh my goodness, I just wish some of these mothers would come to school and just hide in a closet or something and watch their children acting out. I've seen everything every day. The parents were always offended if they had to discipline their children all the time. Not all parents. Some parents are good parents and they want to know what their child is doing wrong so they can correct them. But others will tell you, what you calling me for? You sitting there with him, but you better not say nothing to that child, and you better not put your hands on them. Oh yeah, I have been told that, I'm telling you. So parents get offended, if you say something negative about their child. So the child is not corrected. Yet if the teacher says something to the child about their behavior, the parents want that teacher reprimanded. And the school is so dumb. They're doing it. You know, they know that these children are making it impossible for any type of learning to happen in the classroom. But when you reprimand a child or you try to reprimand a child, then they come down on you. You know, we got to make the children feel like they're loved and that they're wanted. And I agree. We have to make them feel like we love them. But I think we make them feel like they're loved when we correct them and we show them that we know they can do better. Another incident that I experienced was when I was teaching pre-K. On the first day of school, this lady comes in with her son. And I remind you, pre-K is 4-year-olds. You know, they just got out of being a toddler at 3, and they're coming into a more mature age at 4. Not much more, but just a little more. And she comes in with her son, and she told me her name, and she told me how smart her son is. And he's really smart, and he knows this, that, and the other, and he's a very well behaved child. Well, I tell you, being a teacher for over 20 years, probably 40 years now, over 40 years, I'm glad to hear anybody bring their child in and say they're well behaved. However, sometimes he liked to masturbate. So my jaw dropped to the floor. And she says, when that happens, um, that I should just ignore him or excuse him, maybe to go to the bathroom. And this, of course, I had to tell her this. She's a young mother, and I thought, well, maybe she just don't know. But I told her that, you know, the classroom and school is not for that kind of thing to happen. And that behavior, you know, we shouldn't see. I didn't want to tell her a 4-year-old shouldn't even be thinking about it. He don't have, he's just learning parts of his body. So I thought that was really strange. And I told her, you know, that I will remind him that that's not, school is not the place, you know, for this. So she kind of just, you know, glazed over what I said. And then she told me that her neighbor has a son, and he's her son's best friend, and they're going to be enrolling together. And I said, okay. And I was, you know, thinking, well, maybe this kid will make, you know, they can make each other feel comfortable, you know, coming into a classroom with children that they didn't know, a teacher that they didn't know. You know, it helps them to, you know, come in and feel more comfortable in the classroom. So the next day, those two started playing together, and they were forever touching each other. And I'm not talking about, you know, hitting them on the head or grabbing his, I'm talking about sexually touching each other. So I separated the boys that day. And that day I told the kids to line up. And when I got around to a mother that had come in to help me, and I was telling her, you know, you stand in the front, you know, and help the kids line up, and I'll be in the back helping them to line up. That was then when you had 20 kids, 25 kids in your class. Nowadays, they try to, you know, especially if it's special needs or anything like that, they try to make the classes smaller. But this was kind of a big class. And so this mother that came in to help, she stood in the front. And these kids, these two boys hauled off and kissed each other in the mouth and touching each other like you would see on a porn movie or something. Ah, these two boys were only 4 years old. I couldn't understand that. I couldn't wrap my mind around these babies needing this kind of stimulation and to know how to kiss each other. How in the world a 4-year-old? That I I raised 6 kids myself. Not that my kids were the most normal ones in the world, but at 4 years old, I don't even think you tell them, "Come kiss mommy." Oh, I don't want to kiss. I mean, that's the way mine were. I just couldn't understand it. I asked for a parent conference, and both parents showed up. And do you know that both parents start talking about this book that they were reading on how to bring a child up and this, that, and the other? And this psychologist, he's supposed to be so renowned, well known, and this, that, and the other. He suggested this and that, and they seemed to feel it was okay for these boys to experiment with sex at such an early age. Here again, these two babies were being sacrificed because these mothers wanted to look like the in crowd, or maybe if it was something even more sinister, I had no idea. I just let them know that that is not the thing I will tolerate, not in my classroom, not in front of all these other children that have no idea what the heck these kids are doing, and that, I was going to reprimand them every time I saw that, and I was going to separate them. They were going to have to play with other kids and keep their hands to themselves. The mother, she was very unhappy with me, but not too long afterwards, the children were taken out of that daycare, which I had no problem with. What Yah is telling me is that we are just Israel going into a new era. Yahweh told me, do not learn their ways. He is telling us the same thing today. What is bad is now good, and what is good is now bad. That's the way the world's thinking. Things are changing, and they are changing so fast that before us, that before we know it, our world will be that new age Babylon. Revelations 12:12 says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has but a short time. And because time is getting shorter, the devil wants to take as many with him as he can take. So this is where you get all this new thinking about a boy at 4 years old that decides he doesn't want to be a boy anymore, he wants to be a girl, and the parents going along with it. Or uh, oh gosh, I'm thinking about some of the laws that have changed. They're having bathrooms for people that don't know whether they're girls, females, or males. They feel like both, and so they're called they, and they need a bathroom for themselves. And I'm just talking about in the school system. I'm not talking about society on the whole. The new ways of dressing the women are doing, the new ways men are dressing, the new ways of thinking. There's so much that's happening, but the devil is behind them. The devil is behind it all. People of God, stop following these fads of the world, the type of entertainment, the ways of things. Like even the TV movies now, you can't watch them. You know what? I found this channel called uh, Flex. Pure Flix. And I go to that and I watch those movies. And even better, there's one called Faith. And those are such good movies. They're uplifting. You know, you don't have to worry about your child seeing something X-rated. You know, they can look at the movie, enjoy it, maybe even shed a tear because, you know, the bad thing that happened to the main character ends up working out for their good because God has come in and protected them. Those are the kind of things that I want children to know about. I want us all to know about that. And these are true stories. Now, I'm not here to advertise any movie that we should look at or anything, but I'm trying to tell you that in order for you to get clean, you gotta keep clean. You gotta read your scriptures. You gotta pray. You've got to um, look at things that are clean and uplifting, not raunchy. So don't follow the fads, the types of entertainment, the ways people think or the way they talk, the new ways of dressing, dancing, and doing anything that is evil. Forsake it all. Even any demon that tells you anything that is in the direct opposite of God's word, forsake it. The Bible prophesies in Revelation, the 18th chapter, verse 21, it says, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it upon the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and she shall be found no more at all. This world in all of its evilness will be made desolate. That's where we're headed. And I know you must feel it. You've got to, not with this changing and that changing. This used to be, but now it's something else. You've got to feel it. The world is being made desolate. We can't stop what God has already proclaimed is going to happen. But what you can do is make sure that you're on the right side. Because when he cracks that sky, be ready. Don't get ready, be ready. Learn who your God is. Learn what your God wants you to do, what he wants you to see, what he wants you to think. Learn. Trust me, that's an investment. Thank you for joining me, and I'd like to end with a prayer. Father, in the precious name of Yahushua HaMashiach, we give you praise and glory. We thank you for your words of wisdom. We ask that this wisdom will go out and capture the hearts and minds of many and lead them, Father, guide them into all perfection. And we just thank you, we glorify you and magnify you for what you're doing with us, Father, leading and guiding us. And we just give you praise, glory, and honor in the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach. I ask these things. Amen.